Hey everyone, today I will talk about 5 sewing machine basics that you really need to know. They are very basic but so important, and if you skip them, well, you'll pay the price. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And the first one is to always thread your sewing machine with the presser foot up. Why, do you wonder? Well, if it's down here, it won't release the tension disc, so you have to put it like this. That will release the tension disc and the thread will be properly placed between the discs. So this is so important and so easy to forget. Now, of course, once you thread all the steps here at the seam, guys, you can then, release the presser foot and pull the thread through the eye of the needle. For that step, you don't need to have it up, but for all the other steps, keep the presser foot up. So important. And sewing machine basic 2. Always use quality thread. Now, we all know those boxes in sewing stores where you can buy a lot of cheap thread for very little, like this one, which I have done. Well, if you buy cheap thread, well, things like this can happen. That's not what I would call a quality thread, right? So you definitely need to put your money where it makes a difference, and that is to buy quality thread. Like for this one, is from the German thread maker Gütermann. This is personally one of my favorite brands. It's readily available where I live, but of course there are other thread brands that are also really good. So definitely look out for those quality thread brands. Yes, this one will be cheaper, but you have to ask yourself, do you want your clothes to last a long time? Well, I think you should, and that's why this is a much better option than this one. So always buy quality thread. And the third one, it's again super important, and that is that the needle needs to be all the way up in the clamp where the needle is placed. So there's a slot, then you need to press it all the way up until you can push it no further, and that is where you take your screw and you make sure that you screw it really tight. Don't skip that step, because you know what happens otherwise? Well, sometimes the needle will be pulled down when you're sewing, and that is so annoying. So 2 things: push the needle all the way up to make sure that the stitch is nice, and secondly, screw the needle tightly so that it stays put when you're sewing. And the 4th tip is, well, use quality needles. Again, just like thread, it does make a huge difference. Again, well, the price will be higher for sure. My personal favorite is the Schmetz brand, but there are again other brands that are really good. I will link to my favorite things in the description section, and it's sometimes also called Euronotion, I think, this brand, but it's highly recommended. They last a long time and they don't tend to break, unlike one of those cheaper needle brands can do. So definitely spend money on your needles, and also make sure that you don't use broken, worn down needles, because that will show itself in skip stitches and other things that you want to avoid. And my 5th tip is use tools to help you sew straighter. I like to use this simple quilting rule. It's usually included in my sewing machine. It's a very nifty tool that you just put in a slot behind the presser foot and adjust it the way you want, and you just screw it tight with a little screw at the back of the presser foot. This one is wonderful when you're hemming, and because it's so long, you can actually sew quite far away from the edge of the fabric and still get this wonderful even hem. So I love this one. It's so simple, cheap, and well, it just works. Another favorite tool to keep the seam straight is to use one of these. It's a presser foot with an edge blade in the middle. It's sometimes a combined edge foot and hemming foot, like it is on the Banina, but that depends. But most sewing machine brands and even some Coverstitch machine also comes with this nice little feature. And you just align the blade either to the edge of the fabric if you're sewing close to the fabric, or you align the blade in the groove of a seam to help you stitch, or just make sure that the stitch is following the seam very nice and even. And especially if you have one of those sewing machines where you can actually adjust the placement of the needle, like I can do in my Banina, this is even more useful because you can move it around. So this one is a great little presser foot. Sometimes it's included in the machine, and if not, I definitely think it's a worthwhile investment if you want to make sure that your stitching is straight. And if you want to know more about tools and tips, you can also check out my blog, thelaststitch.com. I've done lots of tutorials about this and other things. And also, I'm really curious about What are your favorite sewing basics things you think everyone needs to know and that makes a big difference when it comes to the end result? Please share in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!